ABC Women would like to thank BIPOC Executive Search for sponsoring today's episode.
The BIPOC Executive Search app is here for you. Get information about job opportunities we're recruiting for. Keep up to date and in the know about career news tailored to Indigenous, Black, and other racialized audiences. Gain helpful tips and learnings to help you on your career trajectory, celebrate job appointments, and more. The BIPOC Executive Search app, here to elevate the candidate experience for Black, Indigenous, and communities of color. Free to download and available on iPhone and Android smartphones.
Look how far you have come on your own, but never alone. Through the rain and through the shine, here's your moment, it's your time. You stood tall and now you see, standing in your destiny. 100 woman, growing strong. 100 woman, where you belong. You stood tall and now you see, you have reached your destiny, woman.
100 ABC Women would like to take this opportunity to welcome our viewers and listening audience, families, friends, and our sponsors to our inspirational conversations, fireside chats with 100 ABC honorees. 100 Accomplished Black Canadian Women is a bold initiative created by the co-authors, the Honorable Dr. Jean Augustine, a former MP, Donna Jones-Simmons, a corporate diversity executive, and Dr. Denise O'Neill Green, Vice President, Equity and Community Inclusion at Ryerson University. Our mission is to celebrate and archive the professional accomplishments of trailblazing Black women from all across Canada. The goal is to create an ever-expanding database available for current and future generations via print media, public and private libraries, as well as a website, which is www.100abcwomen.ca. We are pleased to bring you a series of fireside chats which include conversations around education, healthcare, entertainment, creative arts, legal, technology, entrepreneurship, diversity and equity, media, engineering, politics, sports, and so much more. These, we know, are topics that matter to us and to you. These educational and inspirational conversations will be made available to all current and future generations via our 100 ABC YouTube channel. This is a great way to learn from our elders, brilliant-minded and accomplished Black Canadian women. Our moderator today is the one and only Itah Sadu on We Wrote the Book. Itah is a woman of many talents. She has been a community developer, entrepreneur, and educator in Toronto for decades. She is a best-selling children's author whose books are translated into foreign languages, adopted by schools for curriculum, and adapted to film. A contributor to the development of the Canadian publishing sector, Itah is also a founding member of the My People Literary Awards and founding member of the Black Book Affairs. Her youth entrepreneurship program designs have been adapted as models for placement opportunities, skill development, and leaders in training programming. One such program was a Fresh Elements Fresh Arts initiative designed for youth to develop technical and productive skills in the cultural industries. She is a co-owner of A Different Booklist Cultural Center, which is one of the few independent bookstores left in Toronto with a focus on finding literary gems that reflect Toronto, like the African Canadian and Caribbean Canadian diversity. Her love for storytelling has taken her to schools around the world where she has developed stories that have a special appeal for children. Without further ado, Itah Sadu.
So good afternoon, everyone. It is just wonderful to be here this afternoon, speaking to my guests, Dr. Lynn Jones and Annie Kashamura Zawadi. And I know this is billed as a fireside chat. We are on May 16th. And hey, I'm going to give a little plug. It's the month of my birth. Birthday's dropping on the 18th. It's a sunny day. So the sunshine outside represents the fire. And I know that my guests, both Annie and Lynn, got fire in their bellies. So this is part of our Fired Side Chat. And yes, our segment is called We Wrote the Book. But today we are here to have a conversation among friends, among women, among people who have spent the time to record experiences. I'm excited that at some point today, I'm going to call a title of a book called I Can Testify. And you can testify if you don't have testimony. There you go. And if you have never been tested, you can never testify. So I'm excited about that. And then I'm also going to be excited to say another title, R is for reparations. But you know what? You know I'm a woman of few words. So I'm going to open it up and bring the mighty sisters here, Dr. Lynn Jones and Annie Kashamura Zawadi, into the conversation. So my great sisters, how are you today? You look hot. I love the green in the background. Oh my God, this is spring. Green is a color that says grow. How are you today? And tell me what's up with you and how you're doing in this time that we are experiencing. I'll start with you, Lynn.
Well, I would like to say that I am so blessed and highly favored today, as with every day, because we know what kinds of times that we're in. But at the same time, I would like to say that God is good and I'm feeling good. I almost thought, Sister Ida, when you started off, that I was in the church service that I missed in person this morning, although I did do one by phone. So I thank you for your energy. And I don't know, because I was muted, I was saying my amens. In the background, but it's a pleasure to be part of this great celebration and fireside chat. That we're so thankful that we have an organization as the 100 ABC Women to allow us an opportunity to just talk a bit about what's happening in our community. So thank you.
Oh, it is wonderful. And here's a little secret world of the technology. People like Nicole Waldron and Michelle Green and Donna just bringing it home back there with the technology. So even backing us up are some strong women. So we good to go together. Annie, tell us, what are you up to? What's happening? How you doing?
I am doing fine. I'm doing fantastic. I happen to be in the Congo, so I'm really glad, and I am grateful that I have been invited to this fire chat. And so I would like to thank you for this opportunity and to thank the 100 accomplished Black women, Canadian women, for everything that it does for us, this organization, and for keeping us alive through all these conversations so we can continue to learn and grow and be there for each other. So this is a privilege for me. Thank you. I'm doing fantastic.
You know what is exciting is this, Annie, you are in the Congo. You are in the Congo. So this is the reach to of 100 accomplished Black Canadian women. You know, you're all here. Lynn is in Halifax and in Nova Scotia. We are here in Toronto, east, west, north, south. So this is a wonderful grounding. And Annie, every time that I hear the word Congo, I always think of my cell phone. Oh my gosh, if it wasn't for the Congo, you know, the cell phone. So you are in a place that connects the entire world to technology. And when I was reading up on you too, I got excited because Annie is an international developer. She's an advocate of violence against women, and she has spent her life dedicated to that mission in looking at violence against women and across the world, whether it be Togo, whether it be the Congo or Ghana, she has taken her expertise. So Annie, what do you do on an ordinary day for fun when you are not developing the world? Take me through your ordinary day.
For fun, I think I have a day full of fun and sometimes not so fun things, but just being surrounded by women from across the globe, like all these great women and the young girls. Like my day is really just an ordinary day, but where I come to meet, you know, extraordinary people who are fighting for justice, just people like Dr. Lynn Jones, like yourself, and like all of us at day 100. So my days, I use a lot of technology because I'm always in contact with people from different places. Even here in Congo, I work with people in the East, where you just mentioned the cell phone. That cell phone is good, but it's full of blood of my people dying every day there. So we work with these women, trying to bring them to safety, trying to bring the girls and the young boys out of the mining of the coltan that is in the cell phone. So those are the things that I do. And lately, I am here on an assignment for gender parity, because as you know, even in Canada, we didn't not reach yet 50%, even not the 30% that is required. I don't know why parity can be 30%, it has to be 50-50. So that's the things that I do every day. I came across a lot of joy and a lot of pain as well, to see how women are still mistreated, how women are still oppressed. They're going through rape, they're going through not being acknowledged as leaders, right? So, but we are getting there. Things get better every single day.
Well, I see in your spirit that you balance the victories as well as the challenges. And throughout your response, there was still that smile and there was still that element of joy. So that shows the world the balance that you have in balancing the victories as well as the challenges. Let's ask Lynn what she does on an ordinary day. Lynn, what do you do on an ordinary day?
Well, you know, I don't know. There's such a thing as an ordinary day. Every day brings surprises and new challenges. But I have to say that I am so humbled to be in the presence of my sister Annie, who I just got to meet today, and also you yourself, Ida, because you said, what brings me joy? Joy comes from meeting my sisters and my brothers from around the globe and recognizing that we're all one people, and that all those miles and continents and what have you that seem to separate us, that we can come together in a forum like this and feel like we've known each other forever, and that we're all fighting for the liberation of our people in our own special ways. That brings me joy. So I'm so happy to also have such a connection to our motherland, to the continent, and it has already brought me an idea for later when I talk about the book that we we're able to do with the children, that I have to find one of the letters in our alphabet book that relate to the motherland, so that even my sister Annie will see what people all the way over here in Canada and Nova Scotia are thinking about children, what children are thinking about. What else brings me joy? Because my activism is so intense and takes up so much time, even in my quotes unquote so-called retirement, that they have this thing, and it always reminds me of myself. They talk about dance as if nobody's looking. I love to dance. So I think it's in our blood. So often in between the activism, although you don't get to see it, you might find me in my front room doing a little groove all by myself. or also as a part of that is laughter. I love to find laughter with whatever we do, because sometimes as things get rough and hectic and pandemic-like, that there is room for laughter and there is joy. So that, I think that's absolutely the perfect question to start the time off, because as we talk and work with other people, there's Sister Annie said, there's so much sadness, there's so many things that we think that are rough, but if you can even help others find the joy in what it is that we're doing, I feel joyful that hopefully the ancestors are looking down upon us and say, well done, well done. You haven't forgotten from whence you came, and you're trying your best to effect a change. What we did was not for naught, that actually you've taken the banner and you're carrying on the struggle, and not just for us who are in this forum, it's for all the people that get to view this, that sometimes not everybody sees what it is that we're doing or what you're doing, but we're thankful, and we need to consider ourselves blessed. So yeah, that brings me joy, even to be able to deliver that message.
Oh, beautiful. So, Annie, I'm going to go to you. The moment the doorbell rang, someone knocked on the door, somebody knocked on the window, and this parcel arrived, and you opened it, and there was this book, and the title said, I Can Testify. And you open it and you look at the ISBN number and all that cataloging page that records you into history. And you look at the dedication. Take us to that moment of when you first saw the book. What was the feeling of emotion? And was it what you imagined that moment to be? And take us into the book.
When I first saw the book, I think I just felt so excited that, okay, I felt like, you know, when you are giving birth and the baby is out, right? That's how I felt, because really for me, like writing a book, it's similar to, you know, being pregnant and then giving birth.
Was it by cesarean or was it natural?
Natural. I have 5 kids, all natural. So, but in the same process, I felt the same process, because when I am writing, it's like I have this intense life. I'm living a double life, right? With my characters, with the places we are, with the words, the pictures, all these things coming through me and going through my fingers, and I'm writing, and I really have no, like I have this secret life, but that I keep dearly, you know, just like when I am pregnant, I have my baby and I have this secret life with the baby. I speak to the baby speaks to me, and no one knows all these things. I caress the baby. I feel like, okay, I am the only custodian of this child and God at this moment. So I have this privilege and secret life with this person. It's the same with the book. When I'm writing, it's the same process. So at the end, when you receive the letter, like UPS, or I think it was UPS, or while the books are at the airport and blah, 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 I'm like, oh my God, this is like contraction starting. Like I'm having contractions now. It's gonna be here soon. I'm very excited. But at the same time, I am sad that my secret life has ended. You know, like when you are when they say, you're gonna have the baby now. It's like, oh, this child gonna leave me now. But at the same time, I'm so happy. I'm so proud and joyful that, okay, now this book gonna be out, you know, and I'm just praying for the book to come out and giving it to the world. Like, go ahead, my book, you are good enough and people will love you. And I'm praying, I'm giving this to the world, embrace my book, you know, open your heart to the book, read everything I have to say, and I say it with no fear and with no shame. So the same for the child. It's like, okay, now the child is here, they give you the child and you're just praying, like, okay, my child, go in the world is for you, all of it is for you. Go ahead and people will embrace you. I ask the world to embrace the child and to open the heart and the hands and the doors for this child. So the same process. So when the book arrived, I'm like, oh my God, it is here. I felt like I have done something. I have added like a stone in humankind history with the stories of myself, which is not really mine alone, because my story is the story of thousands of girls and women across the globe and the people who could not write. So it's like, okay, I give this testimony, I put my hand, you know, before the judge on the holy book, like I will testify, but this hand is not my hand alone, it's the hand of thousands of people who have the same story and who have not the right to tell the story, and I'm here just to testify on their behalf. So yes, I was very glad when the book arrived. I was just like a child. I was very excited.
Give us a sense, Annie, of some of the stories or what the content is in the book. What is this message that this child is taking forward? You talked about it's your story in other people. Give us a little flavor so that people are going to think after this podcast, I got to get that book. I can testify. Yes.
But you know, let's say like the one of the stories, it's I call the poem because the book is about poems, but really each word, every act has happened the way it is in the book. So it's about the window. I call it the window in my kitchen. I used to spend a lot of time. I was like a prisoner in my house. So I used to spend a lot of time in behind the window of my kitchen, so I can see people. I can see free people. So I went and I saw so many things passing like on the street. You know, I had this bird coming every morning, and I will talk to that bird, and I felt like it was talking back to me that things are gonna be fine. And I'm like, okay, you are free. I'm here in a cage. Like, this is strange to me, you know? And then it was at the end of apartheid. I was living in South Africa at that moment. So every morning I will hear the sound and the songs of people marching right before, in front of the kitchen. People are marching and toying for, you know, for freedom. It was just, even if I didn't hear the word, the sense of the word, but it's like I knew them. Right. It's like we were singing together. I just felt like, wow, people's stories and nation stories are the same. I'm here a prisoner in my own house, And here are my brothers and sisters, prisoners in their own country. And
Yes.
we are fighting the same fight. Even I'm a little, single person here, but at the end, we are looking the same thing. So I will pray for them and I will just cry. Even now, if like I just have this love for South Africa because we went through the same process. And this is not like I want to put myself at the same level as a nation, but as a spirit, it was the same thing, right? Yeah. And when it happened, like a few months later, I was like, oh my God, God always listens, because South Africa is free, Nelson Mandela is free, I will be free one day. So it's just so that, okay, like writing, you see things differently. You see the little things, the little nuances, the little in a magnified way, and you see the ramifications of things. So yes, so that's one of the story.
What is beautiful, Annie, you just didn't see, but you also seized the moment and the opportunity to record. Dr. Lynn Jones, we're going to go to her now. She also saw another moment here in this country, and she involved young people and children. So, Dr. Lynn, when you were looking through your window or you saw the world, how did you get into this wonderful project to All is Holy Christians? And I like that you're working with children with that, because at one point we couldn't even say the word liberation.
I have to first go to Sister Annie, because her imagery actually took me to South Africa, and the fact that I need that book. So you're absolutely right, Itah, and I can imagine the toying of South Africa, because I had the privilege of traveling to South Africa to be an election observer during the election of Nelson Mandela, and got to be in his presence. And she's absolutely correct in that imagery around being bound and in jail, and then this book offering some kind of freedom within that process. So I can well relate to what she's told us. To tell you about R is for Reparations, our book, I need to take you to my front room. Because in my front room on the coffee table over years, there's always been a beautiful book. It's still there, as a matter of fact. And it is a book that was developed during the time when the AIDS epidemic was sweeping through the continent of Africa. And these photographers, in order to raise some money, just landed on the continent all on the same day in every country. And each of these great photographers took pictures of what they were seeing in those individual countries. And I loved the book because it gave me a visual capturing of Africa and what was happening on that given day all across the continent. And the book was able to raise money for the AIDS epidemic. So it really relates, because we're in the middle of an epidemic today. So watching that book, I then switched to the fact that I had been involved in the reparations movement. And you're right, it was a bad word. And if you said the word to anybody, they certainly turned around and went in the opposite direction. But I was able to connect with a global organization, the Global African Congress, and do some traveling to see what was happening in other places with reparations, and came back to Canada, and particularly to Nova Scotia, and started really advancing the whole case, because I thought, well, African people in Nova Scotia were a distinct people. We've been there since 1604, the longest for many years, and the largest group of African people in Canada. So if anyone's going to make a call for reparations in this country, I felt that it should come from the East. But there was a problem, Sister Ida, because there was a problem in the sense that it was really difficult to get people on board the topic. So when I looked at, then going back to the book on my living room table, I thought, oh my gosh, I love this book. It's been here for years. They did this book and it spread the word about AIDS. And I thought, how can we do that and still get the issue of reparations? I wasn't working with children, so I don't want to give the impression that that was a big part of what I was doing. It wasn't at all. But if there's anybody that can get parents to move on an issue, I do know it's children. They'll drive adults crazy when they get into something. I thought, we got to get to the children. They don't know anything about reparations. So if we can get to them, perhaps they will deliver the message that we can't get delivered fast enough or succinct enough or clear enough. Nobody really knows a lot about the issue anyway. So that was the visual part of the book. And to make a long story short, I was able to connect with a publisher, some other people, and saying, look, I want a book. I need a book. And there isn't any book globally that I am aware of where that's related to children. And we would like, as in our Global African Congress, the Nova Scotia chapter, maybe we can get them on board to do this. So that is how the book happened. And we didn't want it from our perspective, our adult perspective. We wanted the children to write the book, not us. So this book, Ours for Reparation, is an ABC book written by children. I would like to say just for children. You know how they do this, by us, for us, because of us, I don't know, all those us's. But it's actually, although it's written by children, it's for everybody. Because we recognize that some of the basic things about reparations that children could get a handle on, if we could get them to get a handle on it, it would be useful for adults. So to fast forward, we had a fabulous time. We engaged, some of you will know, especially from the Ontario region, Reverend Denise Gallard, to do the editing on the book, who always works with children. So that was great. She really knew how to engage children. And what we did is we brought 30 some odd children together from the Halifax area. And we had a wonderful, I wish you could have been there, day's event where we set up the children to have an imaginary reparations freedom train. And introduced different concepts during the day. We had adults as the conductors on our train. They sang a lot of artistic expression. So the book, each letter, part of the artistic is they did arts and crafts to express. They had people to help them with vocabulary. They formed the letters with their bodies. So the book shows how each letter is shaped into their bodies. But most importantly is that you don't give children credit for what they think or what they do or how they move about in the world. Is they had no problem whatsoever in understanding reparations and making their own demands. So at any point, Sister Ida, I would like to read one of the letters and show you how they did it.
Sure you can. And Annie, I'm also going to get you I hope that you have a copy of their book, because you got to show the world too the cover of their book. People say don't judge a book by the cover, but as a book seller, you got to be into that cover. So I'm going to let Lynn read her passage, coming right back to you, but I want you to also show the world too your content.
Okay.
So this is what the cover of the book looks like. If you can see, it can be seen.
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, so ours for reparations and young activists because they consider themselves activists, speaking the truth. The whole book is nothing but their words and their thing. So I'll read and then I'll show you how they do the letters. I'm going to do the letter M. M. And this is what the children say about M, the letter M. M is for money. Money does not grow on trees. You have to earn it. When I earn money, I will use it to help the poor, give money to organizations, and donate to important matters. You can do a lot with $20. You can do more with $1 million. My mind is made up to help the homeless before I shop. We want to know where the money is for all the work our ancestors did. We demand payment. M is for mother. My mother is marvelous. She gave birth to me and gives me food. Africa is my motherland. Ashe. And this is where they're forming the letter M, some of the kids. There were 33 of them. And so you can see how they interpret reparations. They make their own demands. Thank you for that, Ida.
Annie, do you have your book? Let me see that book, that baby. One thing I know about both of you, you both wear big rings, which tells me your circle of life is big and huge. I've noted that in the time that I spent with you, the circle of life. Yes, the rings that you wear. Yes, Annie.
You love it. So this is the book.
Uh-huh.
I can testify.
Yes.
And yes, so it's in Toronto. It's everywhere. It's on Amazon as well.
Very cool. Very cool. And who is that on the cover?
That's me younger.
That's you on the cover. Oh my gosh. You know, authors all have this thing about photos.
But you have this book in the different bookstore. You have it.
Yes, we do. I know that. We have both books in the bookstore. Ours for Reparation, and we also too have I Can Testify. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. It is one of the things about writers. And one quick question that I want to ask you is this. When you were writing, was it a particular time of day that you dedicated to that writing process? And Dr. Lynn, your experience is a little different, but did you think about your project or the writing process daily? Did you set time about that? Or did you let it flow? As a thought, an idea came to you, you thought, this is now where I'm going to record that moment. Sometimes writers struggle with, when do I write? What are your thoughts on that? Any particular time of day, you were better in the morning or the evening, or this was a dedication on your part? Annie?
So for me, that's I don't know how to say this, because my mind is always right. It's always in the writing process. I write about everything in my mind all the time. So, but I talked about the window. So, like as I'm thinking and seeing and going through the motions with the people toying, I'm writing. Then at one point I'll put this on the paper, but to write the book, like when I decided, okay, now let's put this from the scratches that I did to the regular writing. So that will be early in the morning. In fact, I can testify just a part of a bigger book of my own story. So I used to write like every day, every event I would write. Sometimes I wake up at night. If I'm thinking about, I will write. But when I wrote the book, it was early in the morning, from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock, before 7:30 before going to work. But when I am not working, it will be, I'll just write, close the door and plug the phones and write until my children come back from school.
Wow.
Then I start living again. So yes, but I'm constantly writing. Sometimes I just have to stop my mind to stop writing.
That is the creative power of artists and writers. It's the society, it's call and response, because we're storytellers at the same time. The society is making a call, and then imaginatively we're thinking, how are we going to respond to that call? What about you, Dr. Lynn? Is there particular times of the day you think, oh, I got my groove on today at this time?
Sometimes I wish it was. If you were to talk to my friends and people who are around me, many of them will tell you that I don't sleep. And I actually do. But I work based on how things are flowing. If it's 2 o'clock in the morning and something's flowing, a concept, something I have to work with, well, I will work all night. It doesn't matter to me. I go as long as the juices are running. It happens. So to do this book, you don't realize the amount of effort even that goes on behind the scenes to make it happen. And one of the big things is to visualize what it is that you really want to happen and the results, because it's just not enough to have a book written and nobody read it, or it's what you're hoping to achieve is not occurring. So my mind is more working on an organizing mode. I guess that's the activism. It's organizing. It's constantly. Yeah,
it's just kicking. Yes.
Yeah, it's constantly figuring out how I get the word out, whether it be about the book or whatever, and how do I engage people in the process, because it can't be all about me. It's really about all these other people or whatever. So how do I, even though I might have a vision, how do I see if somebody else has this vision and help to mobilize them into achieving what I hope that we will achieve in the process. So and I would be remiss if I said that you don't have some doubt along the way, or things get stuck and you have to go back and refocus and change directions or drop something and pick something else up. And you asked Sister Annie earlier, and she related to having the birth of a child. I can still remember that what I didn't mention about the book was we didn't want a long process, because we weren't working with children on a regular basis. So we did this book in one day. It's called A Book in a Day. So we produced this book in a day, one day, because we didn't want this long process. Plus, the children, I can still remember we had the publisher at that book the day they were putting it together, and then we had to take their artwork away and what have you. And it was the children who challenged the publisher and said, well, we did this in a day. When are you going to have this in book form? In a day? So it was them. We didn't have to do it as a Global African Congress. So the publisher made a commitment at the event to have the book ready in 1 year. The next, we launched during African Heritage Month, Black History Month. And exactly 1 year later, we called the children all back together. And at the event, they got to open up the box and view this book with all of their pictures in it. And you know what we didn't even really think about was that those children, because we called them authors, they are self-proclaimed too, along the way, authors. And then we had an issue of the parents coming to us and saying, listen, my kid thinks they can write a book in a day. All kinds of different books because they're authors. It was beautiful. And they actually used, we pointed them in the direction of local stores like Staples and stuff, not to where they could actually produce a book quite easily. And some of the children have done that. So yeah, great.
You know what our secret is? We have a secret. We all wear glasses. I wear glasses. You wear glasses. Dr. Lynn, Annie wears glasses. And because we wear glasses, we see the world a lot different. You think so? I think so. You know, people talk about the third eye. No, we coming up with the fourth eye here up in this conversation, right? We've talked about a lot of things. In the time that we've been together, we talk about the importance of why we write. We looked through a window and we saw human expression. We were curious about something we had in our home, and it inspired us to think, I could also address a particular issue in this manner. We talked about children, whether it's the giving birth of the book and using that analogy, or whether it is working with children. As we come almost to the end of this segment, I want you to share with the world quickly some statement, a message with these two books, R is for Reparations and I Can Testify. What is your desire or what is your expectation that these two rich resources will do in the world? I know that's a whole big thing, but we are here on 100 accomplished Black Canadian Women Forum. We are on a fireside chat, but the sun is shining so bright. We know that that's fire outside. And we came today with fire in our bellies, with our fourth eye. We all wear big rings, so we know that our circle of life is great and it is grand. But having made these two incredible documents, R for Reparation and I Can Testify, what is that thing that you are desirous that the world will take away from it? And I will go to you, Annie.
You started with me again.
You just knew you were coming. You just know. You know, it is the wannabe teacher in me.
Right. With I Can Testify, I think my hope is that, okay, to give other people, not only women and girls, people who are going through some sort of oppression and abuse, and be it even at work or in their homes or as a country, to try to express it, you know. And there is many types of expressing or addressing a subject, but when we write, I think we are sealing an event. We are saying this did happen. We are making a statement and a precedent that people can come back to it and use it for advocacy or for defense, or just in the future, so people know that this did happen and this had such and such consequences, so we don't do it again, right? And we help many people by writing. Like, I can testify, I used to have a lady, she would come at Rising Women at that time, and she was, well, I need 5 books. The next day, 10 books. A month after, 20 books. And then I asked her, what do you do with these books? And she said, I send these books to India. Well, she was from India. I said, you send them to India? I said, well, I send them back home because they need it. Since they read the first one, they keep on asking. So they can share them in a women's centers for counseling so women can read this book. Nice. So when we write, we really put this out to the world to use and maybe to see something good in it and for the future. So people, it's important to write because someone very important, I can't remember who this person is, but the person said, what is not documented does not exist. That's how people see it. And, people can deny things because they are not in writing. You see, when the colonizer came to Africa, for instance, the first thing they did, they burned the University of Timbuktu. So to create the narrative that these people, this whole continent has no knowledge, it has no history.
You go.
And now, today, that's what people say. Well, they don't have written history. No, we did. It's just people burned it. So it does not exist anymore. But it does, but we can still write it now. So whatever you feel, even if it's your own story or the story of the neighbors or the children, it's create history. So we have to write. So I really hope that this testimony of domestic violence will be acknowledged as such for people who go through it, for policy makers to change and to save lives, for young girls, for young boys. Young boys love this book. 2 boys already came to me and said, well, I want your book. I said, what for? Is that for you? He said, no, I'm buying it for my dad so he can see what he does to my mother. So when you write, it has impact that you have no control. God knows, but it's always something good and we need to document.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Dr. Lynn.
I can be quick because what we want is reparations. Because of the slave trade, because of slavery, because of colonialism, imperialism, and the children are clear in saying we want redress, compensation, and restitution. So if the children can deliver that message to the world, all of us can do our part. So that's what we're hoping for.
Well, once again, I thank you both. This was a gift for me on here, May the 16th, 2021. On behalf of 100 accomplished Black Canadian women, you came strong today. You came with your testimony. You came to testify about the injustices in the world and how the writing process and how important documenting is to affect that change. And you also came with the letter R, that we are ready. We are ready as African women. We are ready as African writers, and we are just ready. Whether it's on demand, whether that book is going to take a day, a year, or 3 years in a publishing cycle, we are ready. All the best in all you do and continue in this writing process. I hope that both your books, I Can Testify and R is for Reparation, will be available all across the world, but also will also be in the homes of people across the world. And at someday, when we click onto a Zoom and we are looking at a backdrop of books in somebody's library, we will sit and say, oh my gosh, isn't that Annie Kashamura Zawadi's book, I Can Testify, on that bookshelf? Oh my God, look at the bottom shelf. There's R for Reparation by those children activists in Nova Scotia, coordinated by Dr. Lynn Jones. And you know what? I heard those 2 women on 100 accomplished Black Canadian women on an interview they did on May 16th, 2021, where there were so many challenges in the world, but they brought joy. They brought change. And we know that because they wore glasses, had 4 eyes, and because the rings on their hands showed that they circle of life. was huge and big and grand. I thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today, you mighty sisters. Walk good and all the best to you and your families.
Thank you, Itah. Thank you so much. And thank you, 100 women. Downa, Nicole, Michelle, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Lynn. It was a pleasure and a privilege.
Likewise.
Look how far you have come on your own, but never alone. Through the rain and through the shine, here's your moment, it's your time. You stood tall and now you see, standing in your destiny. 100 woman growing strong. 100 woman where you belong. You stood tall and now you see, you have reached your destiny.